Today we're going to be talking perfumes, and it really blows my mind that in the 9 years that I've been on YouTube, I have not done even one video on perfume. I'm very passionate about perfume, mainly because I really genuinely feel like perfume has the ability to totally transform your mood and the way that you feel. I almost equate perfume with being the background music to your life. You could put on like a really sexy musky perfume and just like that you feel like a goddess. You can wear something really fresh and light and that will just make you feel kind of calm and relaxed for the day. I mean, the possibilities are truly endless. I'm gonna be giving you guys my top 3 favorite perfumes in the floral, fresh, musky / strong and sweet categories. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I hope you guys are gonna enjoy today's video. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on all the perfumes that I'm mentioning today. And let me know some of your faves in the comments. I'm always looking to discover new ones and I would love to hear some of your recommendations. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed today's video and subscribe if you're not subscribed already and wanna join the fam, and let's get right into it. Okay, so let's start off first with the floral category. This is actually a category that I would have never thought that I would ever have appreciated in the past because I was never a floral perfume gal. I always gravitated more towards sweeter scents and muskier scents, and floral scents just always felt very powdery and kind of old to me, and I never really got into them until I realized that not all floral scents have those powdery notes to them, and a lot of them can actually be really sexy and fresh and have that complexity that I look for in my fragrances. Rose 31 from Le Labo is the fragrance that completely changed my mind about floral scents, because before this guy I just would have never entertained the idea of putting rose on my body. If I had to choose one fragrance for the rest of my life, it would 100% be Rose 31. This is my everyday scent. I've gone through bottles and bottles and bottles of this. If you're somebody who wants to get into floral scents but also doesn't want something that's too overpowering or too floral, this is the perfect gateway to floral perfumes, because it does have those rose undertones, of course, but it still smells really fresh and also really sexy too. Let's go through the actual notes, and I will do that for every single fragrance. So this is described as a floral woody musk fragrance. The top notes are rose and cumin. The middle notes are rose, vetiver, and cedar, and the base notes are musk, guaiac wood, and agar wood. So you can see with the notes of this, there's a lot of woodsy notes, which I find is what really grounds this perfume and doesn't make it overly floral and almost like too feminine. There is a really nice balance. Le Labo fragrances as a brand, I do really enjoy. You're gonna see a couple of them throughout the video. I just really like the fact that they last really well on the skin, and they also all warm up really nicely on my personal skin as well. Obviously, with all perfumes, they will smell a little bit different on everybody just depending on your body chemistry. And because they are quite strong, you don't need a lot, like 1 or 2 sprays is more than enough. And so a small bottle like this will last me like a solid 8 months, even if I use this every single day. Let's do a little throwback fragrance over here. This is the Chloe fragrance. You know those perfumes that just bring back like a flood of memories? Chloe is definitely one of them for me. I used to wear this when I was young, when I was like 16, 17 years old. And so whenever I wear this, it gives me this sense of nostalgia, not in a bad way. And it's so interesting because even though I wore this when I was 16 and 17, this doesn't feel like a young perfume. It still has that nice complexity to it, but man, does it bring me back to like sitting in high school math. So the keynotes in this guy is peony rose, honey, and cedar wood. So this is another kind of like rose centric perfume. The honey that's in here does add that little bit of sweetness, and the cedar wood again kind of grounds it. I find that those woodsy notes in perfumes really brings it back to earth. But this does remind me a lot of Rose 31 in that it is just like a really wearable floral scent that isn't too overpowering. It's definitely sweeter than Rose 31. That honey that's in here really does come through, and it just smells like a very classic and also classy fragrance. Like I feel like when I wear this, I feel like a classy lady. I tend to gravitate towards a scent like this more for nighttime than during the day because it does give me that sense of like sexy classiness, but it's sexy and classy without being musky. So if you're not into musky scents, but you still want a fragrance that does have that je ne sais quoi like sexiness to it, this is definitely, I find, to be a really nice, sexy feeling fragrance. My last favorite floral perfume is Replica Springtime in a Park. This is a fragrance that I like to spray on myself when I don't really want anything too strong. When I'm still feeling, you know, wearing perfume, but I don't want it to smell aggressive in any way. This is a very, very, very light perfume, but I absolutely love mixing this perfume with more vanilla-based perfumes. For some reason, they just mix so well together. One of my favorite things to do is mixing perfumes because it gives you such a unique fragrance. And I mix my perfumes constantly. There is one particular perfume that I'll be mentioning a little bit later that I mix with almost every perfume that I have, and it's a vanilla musk oil. I love mixing that vanilla musk oil with the Springtime in the Park perfume because this is so light. It really mixes so nicely with that sweeter vanilla fragrance, and it just creates something so delicious and so beautiful that's equally like fresh and floral but has that nice warmth to it as well. The key notes for this is pear accord, lily of the valley accord, and musk. So this is definitely very floral and fresh. There's not a lot of warmth in it, which again is why I do like to personally mix it with my warmer fragrances to just create something really, really special. And I especially really like this in the spring and summertime. The thing with Replica though is that some of their fragrances don't last as long as I would like them to, especially their lighter fragrances. So this one isn't as long lasting as the other two that I just mentioned, just because it's not such a strong fragrance to begin with. But some of their like heavier scents do tend to last throughout the day, but I do really enjoy Replica fragrances. I love the idea of them, how each fragrance is supposed to represent a certain time period and a place. Like this one is supposed to be in Shanghai in 2019. And that's, like I said, is what fragrance is all about. So I just think that it's really cool that they honed in on that. So now let's move into the fresh category. Fresh perfumes are great for every day. I also feel like they're more spring, summer focused. They're basically just like the opposite of musky and heavy perfumes. The freshest fragrance that I probably have in my collection is Jo Malone Wood Sage and Sea Salt, and this is definitely my favorite fresh scent. It's really funny because like a lot of fragrances really take me back to very specific places, and for whatever reason, when I spray this on myself, I imagine myself walking in the Hamptons, which I've never been before by the way, wearing a white cable knit sweater, light wash jeans, no shoes or socks, completely barefoot on an ocean. There's a light gust of wind and a little bit of the salt water from the ocean just sprays in my face, and I'm wearing this perfume. It's very specific. The top note for this is ambrette seeds, the heart note is sea salt, and the base note is sage. So there's no musk in here, there's no sweeter notes. It's really just a fresh, kind of beachy fragrance, but beachy without being sunscreeny. I feel like this is a really great daytime scent, especially for the workplace, because it's not overpowering or offensive, but it still smells really nice. For me, it's just not anything that I would ever get sick of just because it's so nice. I have another fragrance from Le Labo. This is another 13. And if Rose 31 is my #1 favorite fragrance from Le Labo, another 13 is very easily #2. I once had somebody tell me that when you smell a fragrance, you need to kind of have this feeling of, and when I smell this, that is immediately the feeling that I have. This is a fresh perfume that is a little bit more complex, whereas the Jo Malone fragrance that I just showed you guys is quite simple and one note. This is definitely more complex because while like the top notes are more on the fresher side, there is still a lot of warmth and even some florals in here, which just makes the fragrance almost a little bit more difficult to pinpoint. So the top notes for this, and that's where you get the freshness, is the pear, apple, and citruses. Middle notes are musk, salicylate, jasmine, and moss. And then the base notes, which I honestly don't know what any of these things are, iso-e super, ambretolide, helvetolide, and cetalox. And so for me, this is like my most perfect fresh fragrance because it does have those warm, complex notes within it. It still smells fresh. It's not heavy. This is a perfect everyday perfume. I wear this all the time, day to day, and it's also a perfume that I love wearing year round. I don't feel like this is just for the fall, winter, just for the spring, summer. Like it will really work all year round. This is also one of the perfumes that I purchased while traveling, and that's something that I often like to do. I love, love, love buying perfumes when I'm on a trip or before I go on a trip, and then I'll wear it throughout the entire trip. And that way I start to associate that fragrance with that particular memory and trip. And I got this when I was in Rome with my mom, so whenever I wear this, it reminds me of that time, and it just feels good when I wear it. And that's part of the reason why I love it so much. When you start to associate memories and nostalgia with perfumes, it brings this other layer of complexity that is special to you, which is just so cool. And that's what makes fragrances so special. Now, I'm not like a huge lover of fruity perfumes, but there is one fruity and fresh perfume that I really do enjoy, and it's from Atelier Cologne, and it's called Orange Sanguine or Orange Sanguine. And this is definitely a very orange-centric fragrance. Top notes for this are blood orange, bitter orange, and blood mandarin, so obviously very orange. And then the middle notes are African geranium, Egyptian jasmine, and Madagascar pepper. And then the base notes are sandalwood, amber, tonka bean, and Texas cedar. So even though this is so orange heavy, it's those middle notes of like pepper and then those base notes of like amber and sandalwood that make this a very interesting perfume. And it has almost like a slight cologne-like feel to it. Because of that, my boyfriend actually loves to wear this, and he shares this with me, and he wears it honestly more than I do. So now it's become like his perfume that I sometimes wear. And when I wear this, it actually now just reminds me of him. And so if you are looking for a fruity fragrance that's really fresh, but that still kind of has layers to it, that's not just lemon or orange, this is a really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fragrance. Okay, now I'm so excited because we're moving into my personal favorite category, which is the very musky and strong category. These fragrances are not for the faint of heart. They are not for people who want a whisper of a scent. They are for the people who want their fragrance to kind of speak for them when they walk in a room. I feel like these are the scents that people remember you by. Santal 33 from Le Labo. This is a scent from Le Labo that I feel like is the most well-known. It's also probably the most polarizing because you will either love this or hate this. Because it's such a strong fragrance, it did kind of take a little bit of getting used to, and this is definitely not a fragrance that I like to wear day to day. This is definitely more of a once in a while type of scent for me. It's perfect for like date night, when you really want your scent to stand out. Whenever I interact with anybody who's wearing this, you know immediately, oh, you are wearing Santal 33. I literally have like a vivid memory of a restaurant that I went to, and the waitress was wearing Santal 33, and I knew right away what the fragrance was, and it just made me remember her. I feel like this fragrance will just do that to people. It makes you memorable because it's such a strong and interesting scent. So the top notes are violet accord and cardamom. Middle is iris and ambrox, and the base is cedarwood, leather, and sandalwood. The leather really comes through very, very strongly. It smells a little bit smoky as well. It's just generally a very heavy scent. This is something that I really only wear in the fall and winter time. Really, the best way to describe this fragrance is that it's truly intoxicating. Like I said, it just makes you remember whoever is wearing this. The next one is actually from a local Montreal brand. It's called Jasmine Soray, and this is called Nar. This is another incredibly like unique and interesting perfumes. I really have nothing else that smells like this. If you like something that's really smoky and warm, this is totally up your alley. I would compare this to Replica by the Fireplace, but it's less sweet and smokier. So the notes for this are coriander, cedarwood, guaiac wood, and burning embers. And I really want to emphasize the burning embers note because that really, really comes through. And that smoky note smells basically like liquid smoke. And so you definitely need to like that type of fragrance to get into something like this. But if you do, this is so unique and so interesting and totally worth checking out. My last favorite for the musky and strong category is Byredo Super Cedar. This is described as like a woody, floral, musky fragrance. The top note is rose, middle note is Virginian cedar, and base notes are Haitian, vetiver, and musk. This I feel like is almost like a muskier version of Rose 31. And it's interesting because it does have rose as one of the top notes. And so you do have that like light floral hint, but it is pretty much overpowered completely by the muskiness in here. I mean, Super Cedar is a perfect name for this because it is a very woody fragrance. So I could imagine myself like walking through the forest wearing this perfume. This is really just a perfume that I love to wear in the wintertime, especially because the cedar in here just like reminds me of the holiday season. So this definitely is a strong musky fragrance, but I think especially compared to the other two that I just showed you guys, it's definitely the least intense of the three. Now let's move into the sweet category. And the first perfume that I want to talk about is Malin & Guet's Dark Rum. If you want a perfume that is sweet but is perfectly balanced with a little bit of fruitiness and also a little hint of smokiness, this is one of my absolute favorites. And this is actually one of my favorite sweeter, smokier scents for all year round. Even though this is a warmer scent, because it does have fruitier notes to it. There's some plum in here. It freshens it up and it makes it very wearable for the spring and summertime. It's also just as a whole a warmer scent, so it works beautifully in the fall and winter too, which makes it just work all year round. The notes in here are ripe plum, crisp bergamot, notes of leather, rum, and creamy milk. Creamy milk is not really a fragrance note that I would typically go to, but it's interesting because when I smell this, it does have like a creaminess to it. This is just, to me, a perfectly balanced perfume for my liking. It's like perfectly fresh, perfectly sweet, perfectly musky, and perfectly fruity. It's a little bit of everything, but not too much of anything. Next, we have my One True Love, my Namat Vanilla Musk Fragrance Oil. This is a fragrance that I always have to have in my collection because I use this with absolutely everything. And one of my favorite things to do is to mix this vanilla musk with literally every perfume that I have. If you want something that's just pure vanilla, you have to get this. It is one of the most perfect vanilla fragrances. It's not overly sweet at all. It has so much warmth to it. It's very, very, very lightly musky, but it's pretty much just a pure vanilla scent. And I will absolutely wear this on its own. And when I do, I love the way it smells. It just feels very cozy. But like I said, I use it more as a mixer. And one of my favorite perfumes to mix this with is Rose 31. And let me tell you, when I mixed Rose 31 and this guy together, the amount of compliments that I get are insane because it creates the most perfect vanilla rose scent. I promise you, try it out. You will thank me later. And it's just a really great, versatile fragrance. And because it's an oil, it lasts for a very, very long time on the skin. It's a true must-have in any fragrance collection. Lastly, for the sweet category, I do have another vanilla scent here because I do really enjoy vanilla fragrances. And this is Atelier Cologne Vanille Insensee. I've also had this in my collection for a couple years now because this really is like a mature vanilla. A lot of vanilla scents could land way too sweet, which is just not my preference. I do like something that is sweet, but that still has some other layers to it that makes it interesting. And this is the perfect vanilla for that reason. But this is just a really easy perfume to wear, especially for every day. It's not overpowering, and I feel like it's a perfume that a lot of people would probably like because it's just not abrasive. So if you are looking for a great day-to-day perfume for all year round, this is another one that is perfect. A lot of warmer and sweeter scents can maybe be more geared towards like the nighttime, but I feel like this is a great warm and sweeter scent that works perfectly for the daytime. So the notes here are lime, citron, and coriander. The middle notes are vetiver, oak moss, and jasmine, and the base notes are vanilla, oak, and amber. The perfect non-gourmand vanilla. So that is it for today's video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Definitely leave me all of your favorites in the comments and let me know your thoughts on all the ones that I spoke about today. Hit the thumbs up button if you did enjoy today's video and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.